And so it started with this sort of agitation of where could we exhibit or present our research outside of the forum of a conference, and because a lot of the research that we do is not conducive to be presented in a short paper format. And so that came about with the first exhibition in Philadelphia, where it was about pushing the boundaries and crossing the boundaries between art and anthropology.
Working out fun again. It started out as more of a queer workout, and I think a lot of that has to do with, a lot of people in my community, not only queers, but like to party a lot, and we're like somewhat self-destructive, and so we started bringing the workout to bars and making it places where people want to be. Well, I think I would like to say it's gender specific, but I think that is not true anymore. But as a female, in my experience, I've dealt with I think a lot of females and a lot of people have dealt with a lot of body issues, and also feeling really outside of the physical culture. Like it's not attainable, or maybe embarrassing to even try. I think, yeah, it's something that's been kind of throughout my life growing up. As I was in a band where I was supposed to be like a sexy go-go dancer, which does not jive at all with me. So I started working out and then humping cakes at the end, getting really frustrated that I hadn't lost enough weight, and I was chugging beer, not very healthy. And then it grew to dance jog, so it was like making physical things more of a performance. So people were more interested in going and being a part of it, because it wasn't just about trying to be fit. It was more about fun and kind of like shocking people and getting people involved. It was usually Town Lake, so yeah. You're like surrounded by really healthy people and interrupting like romantic moments. People define it in all different ways, which is funny. Like I've been called like a very body positive workout performer, and I've been called like a queer workout class. And that's just, I'm queer, we talk about queer stuff, and we perform in a lot of queer things. We use like sexuality a lot, because I think it's important to remember why we even care about our bodies. I mean, besides like having to live and breathe, but it is inherently very sexy to be moving your body around. Racial kind of friction, I guess, like people feeling isolated, not involved in the community. So when I incorporate things like twerking, or things that people, maybe feel like white people are like appropriating other cultures, I've had some backlash of that. I think I still deal with my own body issues. So in performances, like one year, my tampon string was hanging out. And the photographer was really up in there, and at the time it was a queer, space, was gay by gay, so it's a pretty open place for that kind of thing. Yeah. But just as a normal, I was just embarrassed initially, and then realized like, oh, that's natural. It's like, that's what we promote.
That's the body.
Yeah, your body. Yeah. Usually, what's great about aerobics, which I think is part of why I love aerobics maybe more than dance, is that it's like a building of steps.
Yeah.
So you can kind of make like a dancer out of anyone, and it's really empowering.
Hi, I'm Anne.
Ann Beeson, and I'm a social justice lawyer and an activist, and I wear a few different hats here in Austin. But one of them is that I founded an initiative called Hatch. And the mission of Hatch is to bring together artists and social change leaders to solve problems and transform communities and ultimately, hopefully, the state of our country and our world. I was a civil rights and civil liberties lawyer for many years. I'm a very proud native Texan, but I went up and worked in New York for many years, and fighting that fight with the tools of the law and the tools of policy, fighting for social justice is very, very important. But in the course of actually doing that work and advocating as a lawyer, I began to realize that there was a really big missing piece to often to our movements, and that was that we weren't doing enough to change hearts and minds. We weren't doing enough to really reach people and to make a human connection to the issues that we all care about, and to motivate and inspire more people who are directly impacted by the challenges we face, and also who believe strongly that we need to change them, to get involved. And that's what led me to believe that we needed a vehicle to get more creative leaders and artists involved in social change work, and that's why I started Hatch. I also run a statewide policy organization called the Center for Public Policy Priorities, and one of the things that we've been able to do is to incorporate creative strategies and art into our own activism, and it's just made all the difference in the world. Really our core idea is just to create a lot of different spaces where social justice leaders, social change leaders, and artists and creative people can come together around issues they care about. And so far we've done that around sweatshops like this talk today. We've hosted a conversation about opposing our fast closed industry and all of the horrible abuses that happen as a result of sweatshops around the world. We've also hosted conversations about food policy, about poverty, about housing affordability, and about mental health and the need to reform our mental health system to get people into treatment and access to treatment that need it. And so that's just a little bit about Hatch and why I think it's so critical to get artists and social change leaders engaged with one another.
A friend of mine was sewing on the machines and building an item of clothing, and I think it's just a really interesting opportunity to really engage with how an object is connected to different parts of the world. And thinking about how what we make is connected to different parts of the human experience.
Well, I'm really glad to be here at Widows Opening. I have always been a big admirer of her work. I think she's really creative and original, and the connections that she makes between the past and the future, and ancestry, memory, and geography.
It makes me think of an exile, combination between thinking where's home, where you're supposed to be, where you're a stranger, where you're foreigner.
I think I was very young, when I started noticing it. Later on, I think I became more, officially conscious, but I think I was very young when I hated the border, started hating the border, maybe like 6, 7. I didn't understand why, when I had to go visit my grandma, I had to watch, cross a fence. And I did that almost back, this was before 9/11, so you can cross pretty easy, rapidly. But I can come in and go out, but my cousins couldn't, or my family couldn't, and I didn't like that. And I didn't understand it either, you know. And then when I began to understand why that happened, I didn't agree with it. I was like, this is bullshit, you know. But it was really through music, you know. Rage Against the Machine, talking about you know the Zapatistas, or even just you know, People of the Sun was really something that spoke to me, or you know, when the This Leaves Not the Fire, and it was like, you know, Michael Moore directed it. That, Public Enemy, Tigres del Norte had a lot of political songs.
Ya no llores, llorona, mi gente lucha contra la ley.